Hi, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I want to shoot a short one today, asking really the question, are you serious? Are you serious about your preparedness, about prepping, about really what you're thinking about in this regard? Some years ago, I was sitting in the Felons Club in Belfast in the north of Ireland, which most people call Northern Ireland, but if you've studied the last 800-year history of Ireland, which most people haven't, then you understand why I say the north of Ireland. But anyway, I was sitting there, and as you can imagine by its name, the Felons Club, it's a very interesting place. It's an Irish Republican bar, and if you extrapolate that, Irish Republican, not meaning what we mean Republican here, you can imagine what an interesting place it is. And it's both staffed and frequented by extremely serious people, very nice people, but extremely serious people. These are people who have lived a life that essentially of occupation for a long time. Most of them have either been in prison or have had family members or many family members in prison. They've known people who have been killed, both by the police or the military or by opposing political forces, and that's something that's entirely foreign to the average American. So the average American really wouldn't have any way to understand this. So they live a life that, like I say, is very serious. Well, anyway, I was sitting there. I was talking to a guy that I knew, and he made an interesting comment. He said that, and he was familiar with America. He had been here in the States a number of times, and he knew quite a few Americans, and he liked America and Americans for the most part. He didn't like a lot of things that our government did, but a lot of us don't either, right? So anyway, so he made an interesting comment, and he said that Americans seemed to live as if they were tourists in their own lives. Well, I kept thinking about that as we were talking about some other things, and it just kept kind of gnawing on me. So finally I asked him, I said, what did he mean by that Americans live as if they're tourists in their own lives? And he said, you know how when you go on a vacation, when people go on a long trip, where they're going to, tour Europe or, wherever. He says they schedule themselves real tight. They go from place to place, seeing the surface of what they're there to see, and never really being there enough or long enough to fully understand or get into the feel of the thing that they were there to see or to experience. And he said, and then a lot of them are loaded up with all this junk, all this tourist stuff, and so they're rushing around with all this unimportant gear, and seeing things quickly without understanding it. And he said he liked Americans very much, but that's kind of how they lived their lives. That when he was over here, he saw that Americans tend to be over-scheduled, overstressed, seeming to pack their lives with comparatively unimportant things, and either kind of bouncing around the surface of their life from sports to entertainment to career to this and that, bouncing around the surface, never really going deeper than that, except in occasional moments of great drama, to which he said many of them seem to be addicted. And as I thought about that, and as I say it right now, I couldn't agree with him more. Sometimes it takes somebody from the outside to see something, that's right in front of us, and I think that he's right. And I see that a lot in the preparedness world, both in people that I run into And now I won't say that about the people with whom I am, in daily contact, because we have a very good group here that's well centered and well grounded. But as I run into so many other people, and as I watch some videos, I see that comparison there. I see people bouncing around the surface, seemingly excited about gear, without really going deeper and developing the skills that in some cases would make that gear not just unimportant but unnecessary. And I'm going to make another video about that here pretty soon, the next day or so. I tell people don't be a gear steer, and I'm probably going to make that pretty soon too. But they seem to want all the accoutrements, all the trappings of the interest of preparedness, without going deeper, without going into it with a sincerity that makes them fully understand the importance of it. And I know, it's like Christmas morning sometimes when you're a kid. Oh, look at this, and this is shiny, and this is cool, and this is that, and this is that, and it's too easy for a lot of people to get wrapped up in that, and it takes your attention away from what you really should be thinking about, which is the real possibility of those things for which you might need some of the gear, but definitely some skills and some understanding of survival, of real survival, and of real preparedness. So that's all I wanted to say today in this kind of short one, and that is, ask yourself: Are you a preparedness tourist? Are you just kind of bouncing around the surface, getting some gear, and then getting excited over the latest, big an announcement that you see on some fear porn video, or are you really looking at it with the seriousness that your life and your future, preparedness, and your family's future deserves? So with that, I'll leave you, and I'll just suggest that if you find yourself going that way, stop being the tourist and start being the resident, living in and accepting and recognizing the seriousness of the situation. And that doesn't mean that you have to be all down and all and you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be all bonkers about it all the time. Just make it a part of your life that is integrated into the rest of your life, so that it doesn't stick up. It doesn't take too much of your mental energy, and it doesn't take too much of your emotions. It shouldn't. So start living it, and stop playing it if that describes you. And with that, I'll let you go and remind you that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.